Well, I think it's over. I've thought about it. I've had a good 12 hours, I'd say, to think about this now. And yeah, I'm quitting Hoyoverse games for good. I think it can only be for good, technically speaking. The things I didn't go into in my last video, which I will try to go into a bit here, not all the way. Yeah, like, there's constant dramas and community and stuff, not just like voice actors and whatever. It's even like things that have happened before all this went down. You know, how the community treats new players terribly. How essentially most of the content on these places are like so low quality. Like, if you go on Hoyo Lab, it's always fucking tier list. Holy crap, it's not good. Um, People. This is one of my problems with tier lists anyway. Other than it being sort of a moral tragedy in the sense that people put people on tier lists. Oh, sorry. It's also like putting like people's practice and expertise on a pedestal essentially. Like, it's fucking crazy how demoralizing it is. Not only humanity, but people and art in general is so bad. Like, experience speaks louder than letters, as I'll say. The numbers that matter, that both work. I mean, that's generally true over the years. I've played games and used products based on ratings, and they've sucked. I've learnt from experience, and generally I make better informed decisions through that. That's why that's really a good thing. Um, um, yeah, like the main thing that pushed me over the edge was a stupid realization. For years I've known about the gacha being pay to win, and for some reason it never really clicked to me how predatory Hoyoverse games are. And this was really like a fucking huge deal when I realised this like today. I asked on Such Gaming about if people had any experiences with gacha games and how they quit them and why. And generally people said that they don't like them because they're predatory and that they're expensive, which do see. I do see how that's a thing. But there's also the fact that these games don't feel like games, and even though it wasn't said as much, I definitely felt that. And looking back on it, like all the hours I've spent doing dailies and weeklies, I just realised it wasn't worth it in the end. It's just not worth the time, it's not worth the money, and how frustrated I was getting at the end games. I started to dawn on me that really pay to win is not so much the issue, it's just how the game is handled. Even though pay to win is a massive issue, and that's why I'm struggling with the content. You have to realise that it's only what was I going to say? Like, you're only enabling the game by playing it, and that's like the scummy thing here. Also paying for it as well is enabling that sort of thing. And where the game could do things differently and do it much better despite the profit it's earned, it doesn't do that. And that's also one of the damning things here. Where some games will listen to feedback, some don't. And admittedly they're not as good for that reason, but Genshin Impact just seems to always ignore feedback, and so does Honkai Star Rail for that matter. Should have written down a list for this actually, like what was I going to say? So I keep forgetting. I'm looking at a thumbnail at the moment. Let me type. Right, there we go. But it's like, you look at other games and you sort of feel jealous at how they do things better. I can't remember if I said this in the video. But I was watching someone play Metaphor v Fantasia and how interesting that game looks. And it's not my sort of game. I'm not really into turn-based games anyway. For that matter, I like Pokemon, but it's not amazing. And the issue with that is Pokemon doesn't have the animations to support itself, really. It always looks embarrassing to play, and that's why I don't want to play another one for a long time. But like the quality of them just seems so drastically better, even though they're not doing much different. And the reason that is because there's no monetization model. You know, where it's forgivable to have like characters restricted to story and stuff in a game like Persona, for example, and Patamon for that matter restricted behind story. It's not acceptable in Hoyoverse games because you have to pay for them and grind them out, for that matter. The way you just progress in a normal game, you have to pay for them in Hoyoverse games, and that's also the same for most live services, for that matter. And there are cases where it isn't. Like in Final Fantasy XIV, you just buy the subscription, you get every class, you get every quiet side quest and main quest, and the entire world to explore, entire mounts to unlock. It's insane. Even though there's a hellish microtransaction store, it's not as bad as a gacha. And it's generally accepted because at the end of the day, it's not a predatory game. At least to my knowledge, anyway. And that's why people don't complain about it as much, and people seem to enjoy it. And the other predatory aspect is that it's the way they sort of tackle how you do content, I think it is. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't remember what I was saying there. Other shit like the drums and stuff are nuts, and I don't like where the games are going. It's quite a big deal. But I think the other thing that I need to go about talking about is my personal life. And I think this is important for this situation. So, I'm obviously disabled if you can't tell, and I can't work. I wish I could. But with like Hoyoverse games, I feel exploited because of my disabilities and vulnerabilities. There's no secret that I've caved into the gacha a few times, and that's a massive problem because I'm very susceptible to that sort of thing. I remember in World of Warcraft when a new shiny mount would come out, I'd buy it on the store even though it was like £20. Not worth it, and yeah, but I ended up regretting it later, especially because I could use the money on like something else. And my Hoyoverse feels different in that sense, is that when I really want a character, I really need one, I have to pay more. And that sucks. It's really bad for money management as well. And because I don't get paid more than minimum wage, because of benefits and stuff, I end up wasting all the money on unfortunately games like this, where they just exist as a business model to take your money and not really give you anything in return. Like, sure, there's a good story and there's also good gameplay aspects, but the problem really comes when you look at the grand scheme of things, and like stupid as it sounds, my grand scheme of things, with the money I've spent on these games, I could be playing a different game. It's more fun, more fulfilling, and is finished. It's complete. Like, you got the whole story there. For the amount of money that I've spent on Genshin Impact, probably, and like a Star Rail together, it's probably like just under £2,000, I'd say. just over the years of accumulating up, I could have bought a new guitar, and that would have served me for years to come, even without like much maintenance, which I don't do much of anyway. Um, they do need it every now and then when there's like a string break or a string clean or whatever. But it's still less expensive and more worthwhile. And as I do practice hobbies, I do need money to support that. And that's why I've usually had a donation in my description for most videos, even though nobody's used it. I still have it there in case people do sort of value what I do for a living, like hobbies and trying to get through life without many problems and helping others with their problems, that sort of thing. Yeah, like the money spent is a huge thing, and also time spent as well, because time management is also sometimes a struggle of mine. I feel like I could be spending my time better. I could be playing different games in that time, which is better for me. I also forgot to bring that up on my Reddit post actually, like about how gacha players seem to stick to gachas. I did say it in the video actually. But like the tunnel visioning on just a gacha means that people don't see the game's bad qualities and as a result don't call them out. You know, graphics for example. That's a criticism I've had for both games. And whilst they have some stunning graphics here and there, and a great art style to boot, it's not the best it could be. Like if you look at Genshin's characters up close, there's always pixelated shit all over them. If you look at the graphs up close, you'll see it's not spread out enough. If you look at some clouds, even in some of these games, they're low quality. They don't make sense. Like sometimes, it's absolutely crazy how some of this is actually half-assed, and it's kind of embarrassing too, given there's a PC port for both. It's not just a mobile game where you wouldn't notice it generally. It's also the fact it's not optimized for PC the way it should be, and this isn't even going into like a lack of RTX and stuff, which it probably needs. Um, yeah, those are like criticisms of the game and stuff, and just time management, money management. Yeah, it's quite a huge deal for me anyway. As someone who struggles with predatory practices, I'll probably remove certain aspects from my funny moments videos, or the clips of things. Also probably remove the game actually for that matter. Only put in funny moments, I think, nothing else. So yeah, I've uninstalled the games, I've unfollowed the accounts, and even content creators for that matter. Um, there is one other thing I'm struggling to tackle and I have to think about. It's whether I want to have the music and stuff. Like, I'll keep everything on YouTube as it is. But whether I want to listen to the music or not, like, I don't want to listen to new music, at least want to leave it as it is. I want to listen to other music actually, and that's actually a good thing about this. I've got less music to listen to, which is good because I have a ton of bands I want to listen to, and artists, even game soundtracks like Bayonetta I want to try. It's crazy how many there are. But like whether I want to listen to Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail music separately, or even make covers is a different thing. I don't think I want to, looking back on it. As, again, I'll keep it because, you know, I have memories from that, I have enjoyment through that stuff. It's not going to make me come back to the game until the plethora of issues are fixed, but even then, the music is just undeniably good, and the same could be said about Sonic and stuff. Like, I hated Sonic Frontiers. It was so bad, but the music was good. It wasn't amazing, but it was good enough for what Sonic is anyway. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to talk about there. Really, the state of things. Yeah, don't have to worry about dailies. I hated the phone interface on Astoria. Forgot to bring it up. It has a terrible interface. It's impossible to control and click things. It seems to also make you think that you're clicking on something else when you're not. I remember, where was it? I think it was actually on PC actually, on Ghost Impact. I was doing my rotation on my Farisa team, and for some reason it did a shift versus skill instead of the ultimate, like it should have done. I pressed Alt 4, that would switch to shift versus ultimate. It did the skill instead, it's like bizarre. There's also like the characters getting stuck thing, like I hate that. Where if your character's in a hot, stuck in a hot place or something during combat, you can't switch out. It's such a dumb mechanic. It's so broken for rotation as well because it just disrupts it. You lose time, you lose damage, and that sucks. Yeah, like the end game frustrated me. That's the other massive thing here. All end games frustrated me except for maybe the rhythm music game in Genshin. I hated the card game. Promised it was casual. Turned out to be competitive. Even for the fucking base mode, not multiplayer, just for the base game of NPCs. It was so bad. I genuinely couldn't believe it when that first came out. It was just so bad. And then Hawkeye Star Rail just seems to be dishing out this content, this endgame content bits where you need specific characters and it doesn't actually buff old characters, contrary to belief. And it doesn't do that anymore, that's for certain. But I'll be glad they're out of my life, essentially. And people on all such gaming, which I did ask, that's what I was going to allude to earlier. Um, they brought up how they quit and stuff, and what made them quit. And yeah, people just generally seem to agree that not having these games in your life to just not being able to not being forced to log in is generally good. Gives you more time and again more games to play. That's always going to be a good thing. I think another thing I'll probably see happening, which I saw nobody brought up actually, is like clarity. It's like one of the problems with games is sometimes you're not sure whether it's bad, but if you're enjoying it, like you go play a game for a while and enjoy it, and then many other people say it's bad, but the opposite can be true too. And it's like I'm not sure how I should look at this from my perspective. So that also complicates things. Okay, I just said that. That's weird. Yeah, the thing complicates things. It gives you a full sense of what's good and what's bad, and I think people are guilty of, say, objectivizing. I think that might be a word, I don't know. I call it objectivizing because objectify is a different thing. Objectivizing things in such a way is like, it's never going to be truly objective. And that's why I've always been skeptic about Genshin Impact and Knockout Star Rail. It's because I learned early on the games aren't as objective as people make them out to be. You know, they might have good reviews, they might be loved by the community, but at the end of the day, it's subjective. What you think about it, how you feel about it, sort of thing. So yeah, and also I need to clear up, I forgot to say, so this in the Reddit post. It's the 31st of March at the moment. It's not April Fool's Day, and I don't plan on doing an April Fool's. This isn't an April Fool's either. It's generally not. I've just explained my reasons why. Um, yeah, it's such a bad time for this sort of war to come down, and also I do feel embarrassed about not realising the pay to win as early as I did. I did know it existed, but I didn't realise how bad it was. and just how stupid it was as well for that matter. And the other thing I've got to say with like clarity is when you distance yourself from something and you realise, oh, it's okay, it's not that bad. It's like giving you space to breathe and think and reflect. Um, like, like a few weeks ago, I probably couldn't even imagine my life without logging into Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail. And I was always thinking like I couldn't live my life without this because I wouldn't have any purpose. I wouldn't have any reason to go like go onto like a game and have something to look forward to. Like it's a bizarre situation. You know, even though Final Fantasy XIV most definitely has dailies and weeklies and stuff, it's not nearly as predatory as Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail where you need to log in to spend it and then log in again later to spend the other bit, or just do it all in one go. Um, but you feel that pressure, and then you feel like you're missing out because you're now missing out on the story and you're now missing out on events. And so much of that is going to go, and that's pretty much fear of missing out. But the clarity that I got from uninstalling the games now is that I'm free from that. I don't need to fear it. I've seen nobody bring this up, and it's bizarre, but it's true. I think when you have FOMO at the front of your mind, it clouds every other judgment, and that's one of the things we need to sort of evolve to do in like society. Stop fearing about missing out on stuff. I've even done this with like vegan food. Actually, weird anecdote here. I used to want to try every single vegan food that come out because I like trying new foods, and I generally could. I don't know. Like, I enjoy finding them, finding ones I like. But at the same time, I don't like finding ones I don't like. But the fun wasn't in finding them, and because it's so hard to find most of these, it generally wasn't worth it. And eventually, I just dropped out of that. I stopped trying new foods whenever, and if it's something that I generally don't like for example, there's a new vegan Cumberland sausage, which I fucking hate anyway. I'm not going to try that. And if it's something that I'm meh about, like chorizo, I'm not going to try that, even though some can be really nice. If it's something I do like, I'm more likely to try it, like burgers, for example. There's different things, really. And it's like the same with games, I think. There's definitely a lot of things to try, but you need to also find something you like and stick with. But it isn't like a job like some people say of Genshin Impact on the Honkai, where grinding is most of the game. Uh, yeah, there's definitely a lot to think about that I haven't already thought about. I think that's all I've got to say. Thanks for listening, obviously. See people in another video whenever that is, but I will say it probably might not be for a while because it depends on what I'm playing actually. At the moment, only Final Fantasy 14. I think that's it at the moment until Deep Rock gets an update. Might play Rocksmith as well, but tomorrow's actually kind of an interesting day for me. I'm just going to stay and get a takeaway with the money that I would otherwise use on Genshin or Honkai. Although it's not as expensive as it, but still, nice takeaway. The few I can actually get vegan. Yeah, see you on another time.